I thought that if I make a product, it needs to be technically brilliant. You put it out there and it's crickets because no one cares that it's technically complex. No one cares that you spend a lot of time on it if it doesn't really solve a problem. The best way to do this is to tie up an idea with a popular trend. So you don't want to be first mover. AI has completely changed my approach to products. You can get an idea in the morning and by evening time have a POC built with AI. This has brought to life a lot of projects and a lot of ideas that I never had time to do before. This used to be maybe 1 month of work, but now you've done it in a night.
Welcome everybody to the new episode of the Founders Gambit. Joining me today is Dan, who is a developer, designer, and one of those guys who seems to ship a new product every time you refresh X. He's currently building PageAI, which turns business prompt into a full website. And he's also a co-host of Morning Maker Show, where he spends a lot of time around founders. And yeah, we'll hear about that. Dan, welcome.
Thanks so much. It's awesome to be here. Looking so much forward to talking with you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on. So to start us off, what is PageAI and why did you build it?
Great question. So I'll tell you a bit of history around me, and then I think PageAI will make a ton of sense. So as you have hinted, I have shipped a lot of things. And one of the reasons why I'm able to do that is that every time I do ship something or I implement something, I always go back and add it to some sort of common place so I can reuse it between products. So imagine if you do that, 10, 15, who's counting? I have a lot of things. 15 times, then you actually end up with a solid setup to build a lot of things. But also, every time you ship a product, there are a lot of patterns that repeat. So essentially, PageAI is an automated version of all of my collections of components and patterns and things that you need to get started with a project. So I built it for myself, and I think that's also the nicest products to work on is those that solve your own problem. If you follow Mark Liu, I think that's always what he's been doing too. You take something that is a pain for you, and then you solve it for yourself first, and then try to see, okay, do others have the same problem? Let me solve it for them as well. But you end up being so much more invested because you need this as well, and you keep making it better and better because it makes your life better and better. So that's what PageAI is. It's a solution to my problem. To when I want to ship a new product, I don't want to start from scratch. I don't want to spend my energy on setting up authentication and setting up a landing page and do you need OG meta for it? Do you need all sorts of assets? I don't want to spend time on that. So I go to PageAI, I put the business idea that I have, and I get a code base. I tweak it a little bit. You can tweak the design and do some theme customizations for the entire code base, which is also a need that I have, right? Because even though, it's not that important when you launch a product that it looks great, I just don't want everything to look the same. So I have some customization on that side, but essentially that's it. So I go through this, it takes a few minutes, and I have a code base, and I can work on the idea and not on the setup. And that is such a huge value for me first. So yeah, I took that, I made it into a product, and it turns out this is valuable to other people as well. It is a quite a niche product at the moment, so I can talk about the future plans for it a little bit later. But right now, it solves this problem. Obviously, it can be built in many directions, so more towards vibe coding, right? When I first launched this, which was about 1 year ago, which is forever in AI time, this was quite advanced. In the meantime, we have products like Lovable and Replit. I believe that also have overlap with this. So it is you need to know what you get from this, because there is this barrier of you can vibe code everything, but do you know what you need to launch a
Yes.
product and to, have some sort of ranking on Google, have some sort of nice performance to have some sort of performance baseline, and to actually be able to build an application on top of it. So I, I I'm really excited about expanding on this and going further into this niche, into launching a full product. But I'm also taking it in small steps because things are changing a lot. So every time we
Yeah.
get a new model, it's quite interesting to see how the entire industry shifts. And then all of a sudden, we have people going on and saying, "Well, coding is solved now," and then 1 month later, well, maybe we we didn't solve it with this one, but the next model we're surely going to solve coding.
Yes, it's an infinite loop of,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Now
exactly,
it's
exactly.
developers are done, and then
Yeah,
a week passes. Okay, maybe not yet. Maybe
yeah,
next one. Yeah, I'd love to dive deep more into that. But before we do that, I want to ask you one question where I think you might help me decipher it, right? So there's so many smart developers I know who get stuck before they press publish, right? What do you think the biggest problem there is? Is it like fear of it not being perfect? Is it having too many ideas like yourself and not being sure, hey, which one will work maybe? Or is it just over analyzing everything and I don't know,
yeah,
not trusting enough?
yeah. So I frequently go back to 4 years ago when I first made one product, and I can easily identify what was scary to me then. First of all, I thought that if I make a product, it needs to be technically brilliant. It needs to be so much more interesting and complex than things that already exist for it to be valuable. And I think this is a common engineering issue, is that you think, we have the frequent chat applications or PDF chat or image generation applications, and every time people talk about that and you put them in front of developers, the reply is, "Oh, this is just a ChatGPT wrapper or
Yeah.
Claude wrapper or whatever," right? And I think this is the biggest issue with a developer's mindset. You think that that's not enough, but it totally is. If this brings value to a large group of people, and if it saves them time and they can justify paying you, $19 or whatever your pricing is, then that is a great product to work on. And if it's a subject that you find fun, that you like to hack on, then don't overcomplicate it. Don't It doesn't have to be that great technically. Don't overbuild it. Build it to solve someone's problem. So that was one very important thing that I had to overcome. And the only way to overcome that is to make a super complicated product, make it, you imagine you're Steve Jobs, or if on the technical side, Steve Wozniak, I guess, and then you put it out there and it's crickets, because no one cares that it's technically complex. No one cares that you spend a lot of time on it if it doesn't really solve the problem, and if it's not really a thing that they need. So you need to put the first one out there and kind of realize this, and kind of realize that you need to also try a lot of things before you find something that sticks. Because the books, the courses, everything that you might read and watch will not teach you the same lessons that launching a product does, essentially. So major mindset shift to not overthink the technical nature of the product, and to look at the problem itself. That's one
Yeah.
thing. The other thing that I personally struggled with, and I think a lot of developers struggle with, is spending so much time on setup and on doing all sorts of technical work, and to not even over engineer, but go, well, I need to make this product. There's some off-the-shelf solutions. So let's say if every product needs some sort of authentication, some database, basic stuff. You need to deploy it somewhere. And I think a lot of developers they think from the start, what should I choose so the cost is not that high? What should I choose so this can scale when I get thousands of users? And what should I choose that I don't get locked in into a platform and so on and so forth? And none of those matter because, as we established before, you might not be solving a problem anyway. So you just spend a lot of time researching and finding the most awesome architecture for the product. Maybe you go on Hetzner and you get a bunch of VPSs, you do really cool stuff with them, but you haven't worked on your product, you haven't worked on marketing, you're just
It's
spending
busy
all of the
work.
effort. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're just spending all of the effort on making this perfect setup that ultimately doesn't matter. You might as well went with Supabase. Sure, you're partially locked in. It's going to be pretty difficult to migrate, but that also means that when you do need to migrate, you're faced with a luxury problem, which is I have a
This
lot
work.
of users. I need to migrate to something else to scale up my product and to get the cost down. It's a pretty good spot to be in and to solve later, right? And that's also a fun challenge, by the way.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you said it perfectly. Like, just just ship it, right? Maybe even better if it's something you enjoy, like whatever it is, your hobby or something. If it's connected to that, it's even better. You'll have more drive. But just test it out. And then it comes to a second point of how do you know which idea is good or how to validate it without investing 6 months into building it just to get crickets, like you said. What's
Yeah,
the first step?
I have a really good take on that. And the first thing I have to say is there is no one way to do this. So everyone finds their own way. A lot of people like to sit down and write ideas and have these big documents. Other people, they just get an idea and build it right away. And both are fine approaches. But I think the very best way to do this is to tie up an idea with a popular trend. So you don't want to be first mover in a niche. That's very demotivating and it's very hard to get adoption on it. So that's a red flag. If you again back to thinking my idea needs to be technically brilliant and unique and so on, that usually puts you in a niche where no one else has tried this before. So you need to all of a sudden explain it to people, get them on board. It's really tough to sell. But if you hitchhike a trend, it is also easy to market this, and the audience will be primed for it. So one recent example is OpenClaw, right? So if you are thinking to build something and you have an idea, you maybe have a previous project that you've set up. I think that's you need to ship something. Just ship something, get one thing out there. But for your second idea, be ready to react to a trend, for example, OpenClaw, and be ready to ship something to be one of the first that ship something in that area. And marketing is going to be really easy because there's a lot of hype going around. So if you go on, I guess most viral social media, so Hacker News, X, Reddit as well, and you hitchhike on this trend, you get early adoption and you get a lot of signups. I also would recommend that you start with a paid plan. So that's the other trap that I see developers do, that because they think their product is not technically brilliant enough, they think, well, I'll do payments later, or when it gets good, that's when I'm gonna add
Yes.
payments. No, no, no. You start with the payments day one, because the only thing that will validate that this idea is helpful is if people pay for it. A sign up doesn't cost anything, right? A free trial doesn't really cost them anything either. So it doesn't really say if this idea will work out or not. So yeah, hitchhike the trend and try to leverage it to market your product. Once you get this initial traction, I think this is one of the most important things. It can literally make the product a success because you had, a couple weeks of writing this trend, this technology trend. You got a bunch of users, then you have the chance for organic growth. So including word of mouth from those users. If you really hit a problem, it's just a lot easier to go from there because you also have a group of people that you can ask, hey, what can we improve? Whereas if you go in a niche that no one has explored, you will struggle to get those people and you will struggle to get feedback from them as well.
Yeah, it's a lot
So
harder. I
yeah.
think I have one example of when you said like hitchhike the trend. For example, for OpenClaw, if you remember, there was this guy who built the social media for them. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is really cool, fun idea. But never in my mind have I thought this will make money or this will get acquired by Meta, which is like insane because it's so easy. Like there is nothing technically hard there. Like what is he doing? Like literally almost nothing, right? And but it got acquired. It got like and that's insane to just to think about. It's just a fun idea that probably he himself just built in no time, launched it, and then it got this massive success. And what's the value behind it, right? And just thinking about it is super weird, and it does validate what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately what makes something valuable is that you have users on it that either are finding value or paying for it, ideally paying for it. It's not really the app itself, even if it's a really nice app and it's perfectly architected and it looks nice and it works nice, it just doesn't have value it just doesn't have value in a vacuum. So it's a lot more important to get users on. And then as a, you know, developer that just starts out, it's also very hard to market an app that doesn't have some sort of momentum around it. And that also helps because you could be a relatively new user on these platforms, Reddit, Hacker News, X, and still get a lot of traction because at least the way the algorithms work today is that they react more on keywords and not necessarily the number of followers. So that also is a big opportunity if you manage to, be with the hand on the trigger essentially and wait around for these trends, have a bit of capacity and just enough experience to be able to launch something very fast. It could be something that's fun. It could be an open source project as well, and leverage that trend. I really think that is the key, and timing is everything when you build a product. It's just what makes or breaks a product. And this will be shortcutting timing for a lot of developers that, maybe they're not full-time working on this. So they won't be able to compete with the bigger companies. So what you got is sort of these tricks where you leverage a trend and you have used your developer knowledge to start up a project really fast, and you have leveraged services that make this possible. So you don't need, an intricate Kubernetes setup to get a project up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so use all the tricks in the book to get the product out there and to write this trend. That's my realization over all these years of building that that's the coolest advantage you can build for yourself.
And just to get a bit tactical, like for someone who's a developer listening and has like 10 ideas but never deployed any of them, what can they do in the next 7 days? Like what's the first step? Just get it out somehow. Like what would be the best tactical advice you would have?
Yeah, so usually when you get to a product, you put a wait list, or you don't go all the way because you think I don't have password reset, or I don't have some sort of function that you think is essential. I think a lot of people get stuck on payments, and my advice there is to pick one that you find most exciting, that's most fun for you, first of all, because you won't dread working on that project, and release it in whatever state it is, and start figuring out how to market this, how to get the first users. If it's not part of the trend, that will be more difficult, but it's not impossible. Set a deadline for yourself for 3 months and put a number on it. 3 months, first 100 users, let's say, or 1 month, first paying user. You need to start somewhere. You need to get the first one to get to 10, and then you need 10 to get to 100, and so on. So small milestones, but release it now without all the automation, because what's going to happen? You'll get your first user, and they will, for example, pay, and maybe you don't have the full payment flow automated, right? So you will just wake up and you go in the database, and you change a 0 to a 1 in a row, and job's done. Like, don't overthink it. The same with account things. They will come and say, well, I'm locked out of my account. You just go in the database, you reset their password, you send an email manually, or whatever process you need to do. Maybe you have an API service as well, and you're thinking, I need to generate new API keys for a customer. You can do that manually. A lot of the things can be done manually, and it will scale fairly okay to the first 100 users. Once you get 100 paying users on your product, then you can actually invest the time on it, because it will make sense to spend more on this product. It's essentially validated. You have 100 paying customers. Let's make this real. But you don't need to start with this. So I'd say ship it now, and don't add all of these nice to haves. Do things manually, and it's going to be okay.
And how do you know when to abandon an idea? Like, let's say they launch it and they got no traction day one. Like, how long you stick with an idea until just saying, okay, this actually just didn't work. Let's go to the next, or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Just as a do as I say, not as I do. I've never killed one of my apps. I always keep them running. All of them have made some revenue, which it's actually quite nice to have multiple revenue streams. But some of them, you could argue, I shouldn't spend time on them. I should have just killed them. I move on when I see that the organic growth doesn't work out by itself after a period of time. So again, that is up to you to decide. But let's say after 6 months of investing in SEO, for example, it can be any channel. It can be investing in X, or a forum somewhere, or wherever your audience is for that product. If you say in 6 months, I don't get 10% growth, or I don't get 100 paying customers, or I don't get $5,000 in revenue, whatever your metric is, it's depends from product to product. Then you should probably move on to something else. I don't like killing ideas, because it can be that this thing becomes relevant later. So I talked about timing. If you miss the timing, you might be too early on something. It might become relevant later, or you might be able to pivot it to become relevant later, which is also interesting. So you might be able to return to an idea and make it work out later on. But that's just my thing. I think it depends on the type of person you are as well. That if you if you're more ruthless and just don't get attached to your work, and I think a lot of developers do, it's a blessing and a curse in a way, because it's nice that the message you give out there is that you will support products long term, and you will, at least keep them running long term. And I think that is a nice message to send to your customers, right? And a lot of customers might know you personally, and I think that's an advantage. That is a marketing angle you can pursue. A product built by an indie maker that takes care, not by a huge corporation that will rug pull. A product where the founder listens and does support directly. Those are very good signs, and you will have people sticking around, or also people trying out your next product because of it. So yeah, just to
Perfect.
wrap it up, set some metrics and a period of time. You don't have to be, you can pull these out of a hat. They don't have to follow some sort of rule book, whatever makes sense to you. If it's your first product, it's harder to scale it up. So you could also say the first $1,000 in 6 months, and
Mhm.
you just go and do your best to try that. The more products you'll put out there, you realize, okay, that's maybe not a lot. Maybe I should have put the first 1 month, instead of 6 months. That's more reasonable to figure out if a product works. There is really no right or wrong, because it's a journey. You're gonna learn on your own what is a nice amount, but you always need to set some sort of deadlines for yourself to see if you're just working, let's say in weekends, and you go a little bit, you have a few users, you go a little bit on social media, you do a little bit of marketing, but you really don't have a purpose. That's not gonna motivate you. That's not gonna. You need a little bit of fire under the butt cheeks to motivate you. You need to look and say, well, I have 2 months left, and I set this goal, and if I don't meet it, I need to move on to the next product. But I really like this product, so I'm gonna put the extra effort to try to make it work.
I think this is perfect. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. Like you need that something, and it can be a deadline. It can be whatever it is for you, right? It really depends. Cool. You told me something really good, that community and being around founders at the same stage as you is really important for you. Having just somebody to talk to, right? Why why does that matter so much?
Yeah, when you build a product, you go through these up and down stages. It's, the cliche that's saying this is a roller coaster. It never stops. So no matter what stage you are in, even if you're making a good living out of this, and the product is growing, you will still go through those stages. There are different things that affect you. There's, maybe a big company launching a competitor, or maybe you have a week where a big customer cancels, or all sorts of things that can get you down. And I think the only important thing is to have people around at the same stage that show you that this is normal. Everyone's going through it. I am talking with, people that have sold multiple companies, 6, 7 digit levels, and they start their next product and they go through the very same thing. Like this is normal, and everyone goes through it. But if you don't have someone to talk to, if you don't have a community to lean on to, you would somehow think it's just you. Like it's just you that can't make this work. And it's
Yeah,
just so reassuring to see that
you're
all
not
the
alone.
people go through this. We're human, and things seem good one day and seem hopeless the other day, and then it's just nice to have someone to talk to and say, hey, I've been through that. It's going to be okay. Take a day off, go for a run, do something. And yeah, that is just worth more than any other book or interesting post about business you can read.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like one day you feel like you're the best in the world at something, and then the other you feel like you're so stupid that you can't do anything. But you're right, like it goes like this, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a long time like this, right? And you just need to stick to it to get to the better phase. So it's really important to have these people. And what do you find that these founders give you that your friends, family, like or random followers, right? Just can't, right? Is it experience? Is it going through the same thing, or is there something
Yeah,
more?
it is going through the same thing. So you can try as much and as hard as you can to explain this to your family, to your partner. It won't really make sense to them. It just won't, because a lot of the things will seem like nonsense because it's your own mind, like overthinking things. And the only people that will understand you is people going through the same thing. That is one thing. The other thing is it'll also give you opportunity. So it is probably not something you should look for, but when you are building things at the same pace with like-minded people, at some point an opportunity will come out to collaborate on something, to maybe join marketing efforts on something, to just help each other out. Maybe you have friend that is really good at doing ads, right? So everyone that I know that is successful with their products has made this group of people that you don't really need to go and ping people and say, hey, do you want to join me on this path? You need to keep your eyes open and interact with people for long enough that seem to be at the same stage as you. So if you're launching your first product, find other people that launched their first product and just interact with their product. Just go in their post and reply and engage with them for a long period of time and see if there's some chemistry, and then try to gather these people in some place where you can eventually chat. So what I have are various chats, and then the more you're in this, you're gonna notice like these chats pop up because other people include you as well. So you gotta have some WhatsApp chats, some Telegram chats, some X chats, but those are great because it's also a place where you can look for help. So I mentioned the ads before. Personally, I have one of these chats where a friend of mine is really skilled at meta ads. They are super complicated to get started with, so it's just so nice that you can jump on a call and have a talk. Or maybe you want to be acquired at some point, you want to move on to a different idea and you want to sell. It's really nice to have someone to talk to that has gone through the process and can tell you what to do and what not to do. All of those things are more valuable than the product itself, and the connections that you make with these people, they're for life. So you've mentioned Morning Maker Show before. That is
Mhm.
coming completely naturally from me interacting with Sandra from Chatbase. We met on X, as you say it, and we just had a nice chemistry, replying to our own posts. And then one day we said, well, let's do something. We really enjoy chatting with each other, so let's do it on X. Let's do a space, and then that turned into a podcast, and then it turned into YouTube, and like a big, very close collaboration. We met in real life, and we're super good friends. And those things are what stay with you, and those things are what motivate you to stay in this world, to build more, to be excited, and to keep doing awesome things, to keep building applications, and somewhat reassuring that there are a lot of people like you and a lot of people that make a living out of this, and a lot of people that will be there for you on those tough days where it seems like nothing's working anymore.
That's amazing. Yeah. And like there is this weird thing where like building online can look really social, right? But it's actually like very lonely, like you're solo founder, like you don't have a team, you don't have, like you said, like your family, they can't relate to that. So having these kind of connections really helps for sure. You mentioned your show there, right? Morning Maker show. So what was the idea behind that? Why did you start that?
Yeah, the idea behind that was at the time. So I'm gonna roll back 3 years. Has it been that long? I think around 3 years now. At the time, we wanted to help people actually create this sort of community. We wanted to show new creators and new developers that there is a community of other people like them. We actually tried to make a Discord community as well. It hasn't worked out the way we wanted, I think, because most people are on different communities and they end up in private chats as well. But the idea was show people there are others like them, show that some people are launching, they're shipping applications, even though they're maybe not finished. We would try out the applications and spotlight them on the show. So it was always, we would go, back then there was it still exists, but the build in public community, I don't think it's such a big deal these days because of the algorithm changes. But back then we would go through that community and then we would pick up the smallest random website and post it, try out the service, and get some users for them and highlight those makers. It was so nice, and we have discovered so many very very good products that we ended up using ourselves, which was
That's so
quite
cool. Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So it was just trying to build this community and high spotlighting people that have been shipping maybe their first product, maybe just starting their journey. And I do believe we managed to connect a lot of people. Those that have joined our Discord, a handful of them now are also very good friends, and they have went on to collaborate on products and make pretty successful products as well, which was just reinforcing this idea that if you want a bigger chance at being successful, you need this community around you. You need people at the same stage to either collaborate with or just have some sort of support group if you want
Yeah.
to yeah to get you excited, to get you motivated. So yeah, that's how it started. Then we kept iterating on it. So it was first just live. Then we thought, well, might as well save the recording and then might as well edit the recording and put it somewhere. We put it on our website first, and then we thought, well, let's put it on Spotify. And then it became a podcast for a while. Then we thought, well, maybe we should have guests. Maybe we should get successful makers to show their story. So we've done that for a long while. And then at some point, we also realized we when we talk with guests, we actually do video because we want to see them. So might as well record that too, and make a YouTube channel out of it. And then we also thought, well, what could help makers more? So we have guests. Perhaps we should do marketing videos. So we've done some of them around Product Hunt, and then most recently, I'm doing more polished technical videos around building with AI, designing with AI, and sometimes some sharing my workflows, more advanced things that I use in building day to day. So it's just a progressive, let's say, organic growth of this friendship that I had with Sandra, that we just took it step by step and had a ton of fun working together. And it became one of the biggest sources of revenue, actually, because a pro tip, if you're in tech and you're fine with being on camera. I mean, it is scary for a lot of people, but it's actually not that bad compared to being live,
It's not,
straight
yeah.
not. You can do a lot in editing.
Yeah.
A pro tip is that technical content creators are in huge demand. People are not really willing to put their face out there and to do it. And a lot of the creators that we see today on YouTube are not super technical. I mean, of course there are some, but whenever a company, a startup, or even the bigger AI companies want to show a feature, sponsor someone, it's very hard to find people that actually know what they're talking about. So I would definitely recommend if you're comfortable to be on camera, that is a very nice channel and a very nice source of revenue. The way I do it is I mix some of my products in the video. So it would make a lot of sense if you share a workflow, some really interesting way to use AI, you can apply it to your product. So you can naturally speak about your products as well and maybe get some users if the product matches the audience, of course.
So
So
it's
yeah,
not direct
definitely.
pitch, right? It's not like, hey, go check out my thing, but rather, hey, this is how this thing integrates into what I'm talking about.
Exactly, exactly. This is how I apply it to this product, and you don't even need to sell the product as such. You do an indirect demo of what it does, and that actually trickles down to some people trying it. Again, the trick with YouTube is the product needs to match the audience that you're speaking to. So if you're making a technical video about using AI workflows or Docker or something, then a really good product would be, let's say, some sort of way to deploy an application somewhere, right? Because it's sort of the same topics, the same idea, and they might actually need it right away. So there's also some sort of urgency, perhaps. So you can also, if you're a very analytical type of person, you can plan this out. I'm not. I'm taking things one by one and just that's how I ended up with the YouTube. I like to be creative in that sense and to organically go from small steps, one step to another, and then see if something works. If it works, I do more of it. If it doesn't, I do something else.
That's a good way, like a uh, good thing to live by, I think. Yeah, try it out. Like same thing you said for camera. Like it for me, it still is like I'm not comfortable. Like this is not my go-to thing to do, right? But that was the reason why, one of the reasons why I started, just to get out of that comfort zone, because English is not my native language. I'm never did something like this. For an example, this is like an hour-long thing. This is not like 5 minutes us talking. Like you should actually, and a lot of things can happen, right? But that's just natural, right? And it doesn't all have to be perfect. It doesn't all have to be edited. It still works, and it's a really cool experience. So yeah, I would
How did
encourage it as
you
well.
how did you decide to do the first episode? What was your motivation to do it? Was it just to get out of the comfort zone?
There is like a couple of reasons behind it. Being uh, first thing is, yes, I'm not like just step out of the comfort zone, and I always wanted to do something like this but never had the courage to kind of do it, right? Because I think there is a lot of value in speaking with people like you, right? I think that's the second thing. Like there is a lot of these people who are building these amazing things, and for a lot of them, no one knows they exist, and no one knows. Like there is a small little pocket that knows that they exist, but more people should know about them because they're amazing. Like I had this guy, Denis Jurčak, maybe you know him. He built like 15 products, none of them worked, and then 16th or 7, like something like that worked, which is like insane to think about. This guy went 15 times, banged his head on the wall, and then something worked. That's such an amazing story and should be so inspiring that more people should hear it. So that's like second thing. Then third thing, like SaaS founders are my ideal customers, right? Okay, maybe not solo builders like you do everything alone, but still there is a lot I can learn from you and understand my potential customer to then better be for them. And then fourth is I just genuinely love talking about business. I love talking to people who are better at something than me, and it's just like those 4 or 5 things together came to this show. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really humbling to try to do this the first time and see how much work it goes into it, and then realize whenever you're consuming a video or a podcast and understand, well, this can be a full-time job to do it at a good quality, and
Yes.
you just don't see it until you try it yourself.
Yes, a lot goes in the background that people don't realize. Yeah, it's not easy for sure. And I'm not editing it, which is really helpful for me. I have a guy handling it and he's doing an amazing job. If I had to do that part, that's also one good point. Like if I had to do that, I don't know if I would be able to do this because that part is, I just don't like it. I tried it, it's not for me, right? So if you can offload some of these things that are really just maybe boring to you or whatever it is, it's also a good idea to do because you'll stick to something longer if you are able to get rid of these things you don't enjoy necessarily.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's in the same mindset that I started off with. If you can find a shortcut to this
Yeah,
as well, by all means do it. So I also don't do editing. I upload it, and I think I wouldn't be putting out any videos if I had to edit as well. It's just too much work.
it's so
So
much. Yeah,
absolutely recommend. A big shout out to Lara from Clipwing. She's been helping me out with videos since day one, pretty much. And
amazing.
also, you need someone that can help you with the structure a little bit the first
Yes,
time, and some advice on just how YouTube works, for example, if that's what you end up doing, because it is a hydra as well. It's similar to what you said with the 15 products you can do in content. So you could be doing 15 types of content and nothing really gets a lot of views until you do the 16th one that really blows up. So I think that's also a bit of my journey, that it took at least a year before something really got a lot of views. We got a lot of views for life things, but you just have to keep going and experiment. And then when something doesn't work, instead of thinking, well, I give up, it didn't work, think, what else could I try? Maybe this would work instead, and be excited that this is a milestone that you've passed, or you've tried one more thing on this long road that is not a linear road. It never is with products or content or anything you build yourself. It's never linear. And that's important to tell yourself that, you might just be at the age of you might just be at the edge of that explosive growth, the one video or the
yeah.
one
One more
product,
idea.
one more idea that just blows up. And every time something doesn't work, you think, well, I might just be at the edge, so I'm super excited to do the next one because that's the one that's gonna blow up. And that's essentially how you keep going for 15 products because you just think, yeah, this is it. This is the ones that are gonna blow up now.
Yeah, you're right, for sure. Yeah, and we are like, I think 15 episodes deep. Um, our shorts are doing great. Yeah, and that was the big part where you said like you need someone to help you with just the idea of it and the general direction. Like I'm not a big shorts guy, so I was always like, do we need it? Like how important it is? Like we are getting like 40,000 views a month on shorts. I think it's really important. Yeah, so just try different things. Even though it's not something you prefer, it doesn't mean that other people don't. So yeah, test it out. One thing, like a lot of these technical founders, like treat marketing like a tax they have to pay, right? When product is done. How do you, yeah, how do you think it's a part of the product, right? You do it from a day one. Even before you have a product, you start getting some marketing in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that has changed. At least initially, I didn't think of it this way, but I think after launching my fifth product, I have completely flipped it around. So the first thing that I did was to do a POC that really just worked for one use case and tried to market that before the product even existed. And based on that, I decided to build the rest of the product as well. And that was quite crazy. That was also riding a wave at the time, and it was doing sales for a product that doesn't exist. Super scary. So pre-orders of a product that only existed in a demo video, essentially. That is a skill that takes a few products to master because it's really hard to start doing this sort of campaign or marketing video if you haven't tried a few products, and if you haven't essentially each product that you do, you will need to build a landing page for it. And when you build a landing page, you will need to get inspired by other products that are successful. How do they do it? How does their landing page look? What are their cues? What is their social proof? What is the structure of the landing page? What is the tone of the landing page? And then the overall approach to selling the benefits of the product and not the features of the product. That I really think a big trap for developers is to focus on here's all the things that it can do, super long list of things that it can do, but not on here's why this saves you time, for example, or here's why this is something that will bring value to you for this price, right? So after you build a few products, you will start switching to that being the first thought that you have. If I build this at this price, this will bring value to users, and then it becomes a lot easier to do marketing on it. Now, even if it is a lot of developers, they like to build things, they like to code things. That's what we do. That's our work and also our passion. And I think I can speak for a lot of us that even if we didn't have to work, we'd still be doing some sort of development, even if it
Yeah.
was, as a hobby. So a very cool way to leverage that is to do marketing by building free tools around the product and to build small applications. You can actually do some really valuable ones that you can launch as individual products, and then you can use them as a funnel to the main product. So you can get people to know your main product. And that's a very good strategy because when you do a free product, those are really easy to market. Everyone likes free products. Everyone will say good job. Everyone will try it out. The key part there is also to capture them. So maybe the free product does half the job and you need to put in an email to get the full thing, depending on what it is. Let's say it's a product that does a SEO report, a pretty cliche example, but does an SEO report. You see half of the report. If you want to get all of it, you need to put your email in. Then you start growing the list of potential customers. You can also go with those products on networks that traditionally don't like self-promotion, but they're fine with free products. So thinking Reddit as well, Hacker News, it's a lot easier to go with a product that has some sort of free entry point of a small tool, and then they see your brand, they see what you do, and maybe 2 months later they have a use case for it, they remember you, and then they come and sign up. And the really nice benefit of this is that you get a lot of links to the free tool. If you get mentions in these social networks, you end up on blogs, you end up on newsletters. What I've done before was an open source product. So it was a free tool, but also with an open source component. And it got picked up by big podcasts, the Changelog, really nice backlink, TLDR newsletter. Those things cost, if you want to get on this newsletter, those things cost $5,000 for a sponsorship or even
Yeah.
more sometimes. Doing a free product and also making it open source means that you still have fun coding it, but you can actually leverage it for marketing and getting users, getting paying customers on the main product.
Yeah, that's a smart way to look at it. Like provide value, do something for fun, and that still might not yield in like MRR or whatever, but it actually brings your other products a lot of attention, which is amazing. One thing you told me, which is amazing, is like we had our intro call, what, like 10 days ago or so? And in that time frame, you built a new app, right? For wedding invitations. Yeah. Which is like insane to think that we are in a day and age that that's possible, first of all, like build a product in probably a day or so. So how do you cope with that part of focus, right? How do you know, or not know, but how do you get so many ideas? How are you restraining yourself from building them all and actually working on your main products or marketing or whatever it is that it's important?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It also boils down to what I said before, having a bit of capacity to take advantage of a trend that you see or whatever thing that you think is really interesting to react to, even if you have one product and that's going very well, eventually, sorry,
No worries.
I lost my voice there for a sec. So
Don't worry.
even if you have one product and you're fully focused on it, at some points you will want to step away, get some sort of perspective to better work on that product as well. So I see this, it's not my case, but I'm friends with a lot of developers or entrepreneurs, I should say, at this point, that only have one product and they really put everything into that one product. And they frequently tell me, I need to do something else for a week or two just to clear my mind to understand where to take this, where to go so I can scale the product, so I can make it better for my customers. So that will come naturally. You need to give yourself some space to experiment. You never know that one of these experiments will maybe become a huge funnel for your main project, or it might be the next idea and it might be more fun after you work for 2 or 3 years on one product. Maybe you just don't feel excited about it anymore, and that happens as well. That I've seen that a lot. If you don't have the space to try something new, you're not going to be ever moving off that product. And trying something new also gives you the opportunity to build things differently in maybe there's a particular tech stack that you wanna try. The key there is 1 week. Don't do more than 1 week. One of the products that I did, called PageUI, it's a library of UI components built in a similar fashion as Shadcn UI. I gave myself 1 week to build it, and I just laid down all the features that I wanted to do in that week. Super long list, obviously. By day two, I started cutting things from that list because I was not going to make it in 1 week. By day three, I thought, okay, what is the one possible path that I can do that just brings value? And by day four, I was cutting also from that because I just needed to launch something at the end of the week. I think that's very healthy with new products because otherwise they will take too much of your focus. But 1 week is really not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. You can also consider it as a small vacation where you just do your hobby work. Yeah, so I think that that is at a later stage. That is nice to still have this capacity. But going back to what I said at the beginning of the talk, you always need to be reactive to what's going on, and you always need to keep a lookout on a trend and see either if you can leverage it to grow your product. So let's say again that OpenClaw, because it's just a hyped thing that everyone's talking about, doesn't have to be anything with AI really, but that one could affect if you're building some sort of finance product. You can see that and realize I need to spend a week to make an OpenClaw integration. So my product works with OpenClaw now, and you can ride the same hype wave with this integration and get some customers on your app as well. So super important to stay curious, but just for a week, not more than
Yeah,
that.
I think that's a good frame to have. Like, don't go too much, right? Because you still have this other thing that's making you a living or whatever, which requires your full attention, I would assume. So yeah, this is a good framework to have. One thing you mentioned there is interesting. Like you made a set of features, then you cut, then cut again, then cut again. Because a lot of people that come to us, we mostly work with non-technical founders, right? And they have this idea of an MVP, and they come to me and they say, Gabriel, look, this is the idea and I need help building it. And then their idea is like 40 features, and it's a full-blown like product, not like even overblown, like that's enterprise level product sometimes. And then I'm like, okay, let's pause for a second. We can build this, like no worries. It will take a long time, first of all. It will cost you a lot of money, and you may launch it. And that's your idea of what users need, not maybe necessarily what users need. So let's cut it in half, then cut it in half, then cut it in half, and then we'll build that part like in a quick little MVP. You launch it, and while you launch it, we can build these other things. You just need to validate it as soon as possible. So I think that's a good nugget to take out from there as well. Really be careful what your feature list is for the start. Like, it doesn't mean that you won't ever build them, just for the start. One more thing before we wrap up, and I really want to talk to you about this, is AI. We touched a bit on the beginning on that, and how did it change your workflow, and what's your current workflow? How do you leverage it without risking too much, I would say?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I think AI has completely changed my approach to products, and I also started to think a little bit into how can you leverage marketing more, because building right now can be done very quickly. Building is not this grueling thing that you need to do before. You can essentially get an idea in the morning, and by evening time have a POC built with AI. It's not going to be perfect. It's maybe going to have some bugs and stuff like that, but you already have the MVP. This wasn't possible before. So to me, this has brought to life a lot of projects and a lot of ideas that I never had time to do before. So my workflow changed to this. I have all sorts of notes with what would be cool to build. I pick one of those and I essentially try to brain dump in my own words all of the flows, user flows. You should do this, click on that, do the other thing. The data should be saved here and retrieved this way and the other way. Pretty much as detailed as I can. I create this document and then I break it down with an agent skill. Then I take each of the broken down parts, tasks, usually that it has generated based on those requirements. I vet them. I add notes on technology. I add notes on libraries it should use and all sorts of. Essentially, I apply my experience to the tasks that the AI suggests. So think of this as a few hours process. You start by writing down all that's in your head regarding this idea and how you visualize it. Then you break it down into tasks that you carefully review and add your own knowledge, your own technical knowledge to them. And then once that is done, I set it off as a loop that just takes those tasks one by one until I get a project at the end. So the way I set up that loop is it is slightly based on a Ralph loop idea,
Hmm.
but I build it from scratch with my own instructions because I want unit tests, I want end-to-end tests, and I want it to be able to self-verify that those tasks work. And each of the completed tasks will also trigger verification and then actually create a screenshot. And I can keep an eye on it, every hour or so I can take a look and see where we are, if it's going the right direction, or if it drifted. Essentially, if you specify it well enough, that shouldn't be a concern. So for the smaller ideas that I do, I just leave it run overnight. So it becomes that I kind of have a day shift and a night shift, where the day
Yes.
shift
Yeah.
is thinking of the idea, writing the specifications, just in as much detail as I can, and then letting the AI do the night shift of coding, then coming in the morning and reviewing and essentially giving it the tweaks. It's never perfect. We're not at a
Mhm.
level where you go in the morning and wow, it's all 100% there, but it's pretty damn close. And yeah, this used to be maybe 1 month of work, right? This used to be even if you're very skilled, at least 1 week, but now you've done it in a night. Those things only work if you get experience with it. So you need to try it. Some things you will learn the hard way. So you will need instructions to keep file size small, to keep tests small, all sorts of
Mm.
things that you will
Good
hit at
principles.
scale. Exactly. And you need to think ahead. And that requires some skill because you don't usually have to do this. So let's say you have to build an application that needs database access. If you don't give the credentials and all the access, maybe you need a user as well, maybe you need some sort of test data as well. If you don't give those upfront, then you won't, if you don't give those upfront, then the AI won't be able to verify that the implementation actually did what it's supposed to do. So essentially, it's just going to say, well, database empty, but the code looks probably right. Let's move on to the next task, right? So if this is task 5 out of 100, you're going to
You're
be,
screwed. Yeah.
yeah, you're going to be screwed by the end of it. So it really is a learning process to understand how you need to instruct the AI and what you need to give it to be able to run this way. There's also a security aspect to it. So I
Oh
think
yeah.
when I mentioned that you let AI code overnight, a lot of developers would just freak out and say you're crazy to do that. So I'm running all these in Docker sandboxes. So you don't want this to be running on your machine. I know some people do, and I think it's just nuts
Yeah,
that they
it's
do.
not good,
But
not advisable.
yeah, there is so Docker sandboxes. They're super new. I think they're still marked as experimental. I
Hmm.
actually have a video coming up on that because not a lot of people have tried them. They are a separate product from Docker, so they have their own CLI essentially, and they integrate directly with the popular agentic CLIs. So there's some limited support, but they support Cloud Code, Codex,
The
Gemini,
big ones, yeah.
Copilot. Yeah, so the main things are supported, so you should be fine. And what it does is that it sandbox both the your host machine, but the network as well. So you actually have a bit of control, but with a really nice developer experience. Like really, really nice developer experience. It's quite easy to use. You just do a command, and they have a nice terminal UI for it. So that essentially is the workflow. There are a few building blocks and then a few lessons that you pick up by trying this, by trying to build entire projects. You start to realize what requirements you need to make it happen. So this has changed dramatically. It mostly works well for new projects. For older projects, existing projects, it's a lot harder to retrofit this because you don't have the existing knowledge. So this sort of process also serves as a way for AI to see what's been done. And
Yeah.
sometimes looking at the code doesn't tell you what's been done and the actual decisions that went into. If you have such a project, you will be creating some artifacts for AI to be able to backtrack, including the commits themselves, because AI is just a lot better at committing things. We're pretty lazy
Yeah.
when we commit things.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, so I frequently saw that if you build a project from scratch this way, then the commit history is a super valuable instrument for AI to look back at why something works this way or doesn't. And it's quite good at using Git to discover that. So that's also something you need to put in your instructions, that it needs to be able to navigate the Git history as well. So for existing products, that becomes a lot more difficult. So my approach there is to leverage the skill part and the instruction part that I have in the let's say the fully autonomous setup. Let's call it that. I take the good parts from it. I do a similar specification work, but instead of breaking down into tasks this way, I use interview skill. It's something that I wrote, but if other developers are listening, you can get the Grill Me skill by Matt Pocock, which will trigger you, sorry, which will interview you about all the details that are ambiguous in your specification. So you started your sort of best effort to try to cover the task, and then this thing will ask you over and over until everything is set. All the edge cases are accounted for, if you want to handle them or not, even all of that is clarified, and then I can set it off to run just as a regular agent. It's quite different these days at how it used to be in the beginning because the context windows are a lot bigger.
Yeah. It's a
So
lot better.
provided that the feature is not touching too many components at once, you can fit it in the 1 million context window usually. So a little bit different workflow for existing projects, but still with a lot of similarities. I think as the models get better, we will need fewer and fewer of these instructions. We will need fewer yelling points where we say, do not do this, do not,
And it still does it,
always,
yeah.
yeah, always type check, always lint the file, don't use any, all sorts of caveats like that, there is always a chance that AI will do it. Maybe you hit some sort of degraded model. I don't know why it happens sometimes, or maybe that's just the percentage you have to hit a bad reply.
Yeah.
But in essence, you you will still need, regardless of your AI setup, I would recommend that you invest into these baseline instructions on just code quality and general best practices. So you don't generate them with AI. Very important, because you're just going to get a bunch of slop think really hard or try a project with AI, look through the code that it generated, and then think really hard what you want to change. If you were writing that code, how would you do it differently? Maybe you would split components and then write an instruction on why and how a component should be split, but write it yourself because if you just generate all of these with AI, you're not going to get that far.
Yeah, I think you said one thing perfectly, which is the whole role of developer has completely changed. Like you're not writing code anymore. Like 95% of the code written by my devs is written by AI. Like you are more there to learn how to prompt and you learn by doing, as you said, like what AI does always bad. It's not dry code. It's always multiple of the same function in 10 different files. Like it's not componentized. It's not scalable. It's missing some things. Like learn every single tweak and build your own workflow around that, and it'll be much easier life for you. But also, even with all that, it always makes mistakes. Always assume that it's bad and read, like we still, our devs still read all the code that AI does and still prompt it back to fix those things.
Yeah.
So it's really more of a, you're more senior position that just reviews the code and gives feedback, not actually writing the code, I would say.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm at the point where I see a lot of people saying, well, I'm not even reviewing the code. Don't do that. We're not there yet. You can throw more tooling at it. You can have automated PR reviews, and just some things are outside of the box. There's something about the way a human brain works that sees things that are not related to the thing at hand. So
Yes.
I don't know, what's a good example of a Claude code leaking their code base, right?
No, it was human error. No, it
Uh,
was human.
yeah, yeah.
Of course.
But I bet that they have AI automation. Like even if it was human error, I don't imagine that there's a
No, yeah,
single PR that's not scanned by AI with comments. And an AI scanned that and didn't see anything wrong with it, right? So
yeah.
there's still, I don't know if this will ever change, to be honest. Maybe the way you review will change, and maybe the level or maybe the level of the review will change, but there will always be a need to review and to essentially do a sanity check, if nothing else, on the code that AI has generated. So unless this is a really low stakes
Yeah,
tool that uh, doesn't have any database access and so on, then by all means
do it. Yeah.
you can do it. You can vibe code, but most of the stuff that we do, if it has database access, you have the responsibility to look through it
I would
and
I would also say don't be greedy. Like this took you a month. Now you do it in 2 days. Like stop there. Okay, test it out on something that's really, like you said, low leverage. You don't care. Like it's just, but be careful. Like don't be so greedy because we are in such amazing space. Like one dev can do what team of 10 could have done even like 6 7 months ago before these big models came. Like just wait. Like we may get there, but we're still not there. One last thing is, what are your thoughts on like Lovable, V0, Base 44? And why I'm asking is because even like, I don't know, 6 months ago, how clients came to me was with Figma. So they came to me with the Figma design and told me, hey, here is this design of my product and I need someone to build it. But now they don't come with Figma. That's probably why Figma is plummeting. But they come with Base 44 vibe coded app or Lovable vibe coded app, and they all come to the same problems. They get it to a point where it looks really nice, but in the background almost nothing works correctly, right? But UI is there, the idea is there, some buttons work, and also then it becomes of a part. It's amazing to a certain point of how big it is, and then it just starts becoming bad, meaning they need a new feature, it builds it, but it's wrong, and it breaks three other things, and then
yeah.
that are not connected. So that's what they come up to me with and say, okay, now I need a dev. What are your thoughts on these apps?
Yeah, I'm not bullish on these apps. I think they are, if they will survive as prototype tools where you can
Yes.
prototype a piece of UI. Also, as a developer, maybe you want V0 is pretty good at doing UI, so maybe you want some sort of component that you build there and then you take it over to your app. But I think the generic AI tools will end up eating all of these because they're getting pretty good without a lot of instructions. But as soon as you break that barrier, also as a less technical or even completely non-technical, if you use the Claude desktop app, right? Not the CLI, you can add agent skills there. So they have, I think, a way to install them. It's something they can do, so they can install a web design skill or something like
Hmm.
that, and then it actually becomes better than Lovable. But obviously, Lovable resells those tokens. They don't. They're not a.
Yeah.
They don't have a model. They don't have the same pricing. They probably have a deal with OpenAI or Claude or whatever deal they have, and they will always be more expensive than these. I also think the other thing will happen, which is Claude will get capabilities to connect to a database and to get authentication
Yeah.
with a one click because it's such a hot market. They will be crazy not to do that. So I think the generic tools will take over and they will become the de facto way for also product managers or designers to use AI. Not super bullish on the rest. It's super competitive as well. So I think some of them have overlap with PageAI, and I can feel it because there's just no way I can do ads for this thing. They have
Yes.
all the keywords are taken
Yeah.
by these companies. So it's super competitive. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of hype. I just don't see how they'll be able to compete on
Yeah.
price and on the fact that you have one tool. Always, bet on the one tool to rule them all because people don't like juggling accounts, having multiple systems, especially in a business context. If you can get rid of a provider, that's great. If we could just
Yeah. Simplify.
go for Claude, yeah. And those are they get quite expensive. So if you get far with a Lovable app, you actually end up spending quite a lot of money, and then you will have to justify it against a Claude Max subscription. Yeah, I'm thinking uh, there will be a decline of these. They will need to either reinvent themselves as a generic tool or build their own models, go that path because they. I just don't see how OpenAI or Anthropic is not gonna come for them.
Yeah, I would agree so. And like this is why I'm asking it because most of our clients are non-technical founders, and for technical people, it just makes sense go to Claude and be done with it, like or Codex, whatever it is. But for them, they're just scared of a terminal. They're just scared of whatever it is, right? And this is just register, buy some credits, try it out. And it's really amazing at building UI. It's really amazing at getting that prototype in. But as soon as you want to actually publish that, I don't know. I'm yet to see
Yeah,
some really successful thing that came out of it. But it's really useful for us as well. I can't lie. Like this is better than getting Figma, and I get the actual idea of what my customer actually wants, what my client actually wants, and
yeah,
we can help him improve it and rebuild it. We never use a line of code from there. Like we just rebuild the thing. It's not worth the hassle, for
for
sure.
sure. Yeah, for sure. I,
Yeah.
I do think yeah, design tools they will need to reinvent themselves because it is stuck in this old way with
Yeah.
siloed designers that hand over something to developers, and it is the lines are a lot more blurry today. So we will probably see some new tools in that area, or we'll see Figma. Figma will have to reinvent itself
Yeah.
uh,
They're
to still be
struggling right
relevant.
now. My fiance is UI UX designer, and it's like devs got hit hard if you didn't adapt. Like we are not seeing any problems with business. Like we still maybe better than ever working right now. But people who kind of got stuck into that engineering mindset and got scared of AI and thinking like it's not good enough. The thing you talked about at the first, right? If you didn't embrace it, I think you're gone as a dev, or at least you need to come back to embrace it. But designers, like they're in this weird space where no tool yet figured it out, right? And people are like, why would I need a designer if I can build it with Lovable and hand it off to my devs? And that's what we are seeing with our clients. Like, it's they come to me with a good product, something that looks good, and then we just build it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, I see that. I think maybe the Claude co-work is also something that could go in that direction. There is a huge push to go into business and enterprise because that's where the real money is. And I believe all these products, what they do, they validate a really good idea for Anthropic and OpenAI to build later and get higher margins because
Yes.
obviously if you can build
Yes.
that, then you're selling your tokens at a premium, and it is absolutely going to happen. We might even see this settling down in maybe a decade with a Google situation where
Yeah.
there's a talk that we're in a bubble. So when things will go sideways, when the investor money dries up, and there's so much money into this right now that is insane, eventually it will run out, and someone needs to be profitable. Maybe there will be just one of them that is covering most of these use cases. So the ones that have actually cracked enterprise and are indispensable, it might be a Google situation where everyone else is just wiped, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm optimistic on the Chinese side though.
Yeah. They are
They're
lumping
my
it
hope
high. Yeah.
at this moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
they keep this competitive and interesting. I think we would have paid a lot more for AI if it wasn't for them at the
Why
moment.
I would agree. Like, and we will, like, there will. It's not even a question. Like, there will come a day where Anthropic, OpenAI, when they get to us and say, okay, look, we can't do this anymore for $200 a month. Now it's 2K or whatever it
Yeah,
is, because they are losing so much money, and it's still like the whole bubble, the whole America bubble is like it's Nvidia investing in OpenAI so that OpenAI can buy from Nvidia. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's just so much money behind it that they are now beyond the returning point. Like, they have to hype it as much as they can because billions and billions of dollars are losing daily. Like, none of these companies yet made a single dollar of profit, which is concerning, right? And you can see with Anthropic blocking OpenClaw and the third-party things, and they're like, okay, look, you guys are spending $3,000 worth of tokens and paying 200, but I'm doing that with your tool as well because I'm maxed out every week, right? So it's just a matter of time where these investors, when it becomes an IPO and investors come and they want to see some money come in,
absolutely.
actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And in enterprise, that's already the case. They have, I think, since January, if I'm not getting this wrong, they have banned the max subscription and they just charge per
Really?
token. Yeah. So enterprise deals are already hit by it. And I believe then the recent news with them banning it for OpenClaw as well, and they will keep cracking down on what this subscription is meant to be used for and just keep it
Yeah.
for personal use somehow.
They would already do it if there wasn't like Google or these Chinese guys. Like Google has
Exactly.
an infinite amount of money, right? It's not a problem for them. They can stick to it longer just to drive these guys out of business. Or these Chinese, they don't care. So it's good that there is competition because if there wasn't, we would be toast.
for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Google might also be just the one that wins this at the end because
yeah.
they
That's the
have a
best
massive,
bet. Yeah,
yeah,
that's my bet. I would say
yeah,
so. Yeah.
yeah. They
Even though
have
Claude
everything in
is
place.
like my favorite, like they are the best at doing what we need as devs. But yeah,
They are, but it's also obvious that this is the thing that makes a lot of money short term, and I'm pretty sure Google's
yes,
already training a model to tackle that as we speak. So it is going to. I like that there's a lot of competition because that's good for us. That the prices are still, you know, justifiable. I think they will be justifiable even at $2,000 still. It's gonna
agreed. Yeah,
be locking out a lot of the rest of the world though, because not everyone's living in San Francisco and having a 200K a year salary. I don't know if you saw this post going around with someone advertising a job for an AI engineer, and I believe the salary was $38,000 a year or something like that. And it got a lot of, you know, mixed feelings because Americans were like, "What 38 like that? That some people make that in a month." There, if you're doing some LLM work, but the rest of the world, it's not there. There are a lot of places in Europe actually have developers working right now for that amount. Maybe they're not seniors, but just mid-level
yes,
developers for that
agreed.
amount.
Yeah,
So if it's 2,000, it's getting pretty close to how much it costs to hire another person. So I think it's still worth it, but it's not going to be okay. We all get this subscription. It's going to be a bit more selective
yeah.
in
If
terms
you
of
live
people.
from it, you'll have to have it. If you don't, you probably won't. But they will figure something out for the masses. I'm not even like questioning that. There will be some kind of plan or something for these people. Yeah. But these hyper users like us, like it's impossible. Like too much. So much.
Yeah, yeah. The state-of-the-art models will probably become less and less accessible. I'm
Yes.
also a bit bullish on local LLMs. I think there's
Hmm.
a way to go hardware-wise, but there is a lot of activity in the space, and we will also get that eventually. It's hard to say when, but it
Yes.
could be in the next few years, and that will completely change
But
the
look what
dynamics of
OpenClaw did. It already kind of stepped into the main of that, right? Or at least a lot of people are now even aware that's a thing, that's a possibility for them. Um, so yeah, people like these and projects like these will always like move a step closer to it, and it's inevitable that we'll be there.
Yeah, I think it's a hard sell because you would always look, well, I need to get a GPU or
Yeah.
the crazy setups with the Mac Studios with the 512 gigabytes of RAM. That's a 30K machine, and then you just divide it by 200 and see, well, I can get 5 years of Claude Max. It just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. But if the subscription is 2,000, all of a sudden this is
It
down
changes the
to a
shift.
bit
Yeah.
over a year. Yeah, the it kind of starts to make sense, and then the hardware should get better. I don't think it's going to get cheaper because just the demand for compute right now is so high. It's
It's
going to be a
insane.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it will start to be a real option if the prices go up, and also
Yep.
for privacy reasons. Because I don't know about you, but I don't trust these guys that much at this point. And we're sending Aura code to them. I think, you know, it's not that they have evil intentions, but I think they just move so fast. They just leaked their source code, right? They move so fast that they can make a mistake. And
Look, and there is a lot of pressure. Like again, there is like we can't even fathom how much money is in that and how many important people are like needed to work
for
or
sure,
it just like if they are moving too fast, there is too much hype. I'm not saying that it's like I would say it's so good. Like AI is amazing right now, but it's still overhyped.
yeah,
That's insane to even think about, right? So I would like don't trust anyone, let alone the giant corporations. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. So for that reason, there are companies that just cannot do this because of compliance. It's just not an option. You cannot send any of your data anywhere, and
Yeah.
then they will need to figure out a good local story because otherwise, as you said, if it's good, if you don't embrace it, you'll be left behind. So you need to find the way to use it also in these circumstances, and they will probably be the ones pushing the local LLM story.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about that. I like the concept of not being connected. It used to be like back in the day, you could
Yes.
code and be completely offline, right? And yeah, maybe that
Not an
was
option. Yeah.
5 years ago, not an option. And I just feel so slow without AI now. It's just I
No, you
probably
must
had some.
use it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you must use it. So you cannot be on a plane and code something up anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Thank you very much, Dan. This was an amazing episode. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. We'll link your links below, but if you want to shout any of most important ones right now, feel free to do so.
Thanks so much, Gabriel. It was just so nice to talk and to geek out at the end.
Thank you.
It's just so much going on, and yeah, I think it was just a really nice chat. So even if it wasn't on the podcast, I think it would have been great just to chat with you
Agreed.
and get to meet you. So love the energy, and thanks for having me here. Really appreciate putting the time. Yeah, PageAI.pro. That's the latest link. I will keep the other 15 or so for the show notes. Yeah, we'll work it out. Yeah, try out Morning Maker Show as well. Check our YouTube channel, and if you're into AI and tech, I think you might find some interesting videos in there, and more to come as well. I'm working on a really exciting one about Docker sandboxes of all things that I've mentioned before. So I actually secretly hope that I get people to use it more because just running AI on your root machine is
That's smart.
scary business. Scary business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Thank you very much again. It was a pleasure and see you around, man. Bye.